Every human heart longs for happiness. From the moment we are young, we begin searching for things that will make us happy. We look for happiness in friendships, success, love, possessions, and achievements. We dream about a future where all our problems disappear and joy finally fills our hearts. Yet many people discover that happiness can be difficult to hold on to. A new job may bring happiness for a while, but eventually stress appears. Money can make life easier, but it cannot remove loneliness. Success can bring praise, but it cannot heal a wounded heart. Even the most beautiful moments in life eventually pass. Because of this, many people spend years chasing happiness without ever finding lasting peace. The reason is simple. The human heart was created for something deeper than temporary pleasures. We were created to know God, to walk with Him, and to experience the joy that comes from His love. Finding happiness in God does not mean that life suddenly becomes perfect or that we never experience sadness again. Instead, it means discovering a deep and steady joy that remains even during difficult seasons. God offers a happiness that the world cannot give and cannot take away. Why people search for happiness? Every decision we make is, in some way, connected to our desire for happiness. We work hard because we believe success will make us happy. We pursue relationships because we hope love will make us happy. We buy things because we think they will improve our lives and bring joy. There is nothing wrong with these desires. Happiness itself is not wrong. It is a gift. The problem comes when we expect temporary things to satisfy our deepest needs. Many people climb the ladder of success only to realize they still feel empty. Others gain wealth and discover that they still long for something more. Some achieve their dreams and wonder why happiness did not last. The human soul desires something eternal. Deep inside, every person is a longing that only God can fully satisfy. The difference between happiness and joy. Many people use the words happiness and joy as if they mean the same thing. In reality, they are different. Happiness often depends on circumstances. When life goes well, we feel happy. When problems arise, happiness fades. Joy, however, is deeper. Joy comes from knowing that we are loved by God and that our lives have purpose. Joy can remain even when life is difficult. A person can experience grief and still possess joy. A person can face uncertainty and still have peace. This kind of joy is not based on perfect circumstances, but on trust in God. Finding happiness in God means discovering this deeper joy that remains steady through every season of life. The happiness the world offers. The world offers many paths to happiness. It says, buy more, achieve more, become more successful, be admired, have more followers, be perfect. But these things can never fully satisfy the heart. There is always another goal to reach, another possession to buy, another dream to chase. The search never ends because the heart was created for something greater than material success. Temporary pleasures are like drinking salt water. They seem satisfying for a moment, but leave us thirstier than before. Many people have everything they ever wanted and still feel empty inside. The human heart needs something eternal. It needs God. God knows what makes us happy. The one who created us understands us completely. God knows our dreams, fears, and desires. He understands our need for love, purpose, and peace. Because He created us, He knows what truly satisfies the human soul. A parent understands what their child needs, even when the child does not. Likewise, God often knows what we need before we understand it ourselves. Sometimes we ask for things that we believe will make us happy, but God sees a bigger picture. He sees our future. He sees our struggles. He sees what will truly bring us peace. His love guides us toward the kind of happiness that lasts. Finding happiness through God's presence. One of the greatest gifts God gives us is His presence. There are moments in life when we feel completely alone. We may feel misunderstood or forgotten. Yet God's presence reminds us that we are never truly alone. He walks beside us during our happiest moments and our darkest nights. He remains with us during times of uncertainty. There is great comfort in knowing that we do not have to face life by ourselves. The awareness of God's presence brings peace to the heart, and peace is one of the foundations of true happiness. Happiness in being loved. Every person wants to be loved. We long to be accepted, valued, and understood. Human love is beautiful, but people sometimes disappoint us. Relationships change. Friendships end. People misunderstand us. God's love is different. His love is faithful and constant. He sees our strengths and weaknesses and still loves us completely. When we understand that we are deeply loved by God, our hearts find rest. We no longer need to constantly prove our worth. We no longer need to chase approval from everyone around us. We can rest in the truth that we are loved exactly as we are. This knowledge brings deep happiness. Happiness in having purpose. One of the greatest causes of unhappiness is feeling that life has no meaning. People want to know that their lives matter. They want to believe they are here for a reason. God gives our lives purpose. Every act of kindness matters. Every word of encouragement matters. Every opportunity to love others has value. Our lives are not accidents. We were created with purpose and intention. Knowing this fills life with meaning and joy. Happiness. During difficult seasons, finding happiness in God does not mean avoiding pain. Everyone experiences loss, disappointment, and sorrow. Even faithful people face difficult seasons. The difference is that God's presence gives us hope during those times. We know that suffering is not the end of the story. We know that we are not alone. We know that there is meaning even in our struggles. This hope becomes a source of deep joy, the beginning of true happiness. True happiness begins when we stop searching for lasting joy in temporary things and begin seeking it in God. The world offers many promises, but only God offers lasting peace. He invites us to trust Him. He invites us to rest in His love. He invites us to discover that our hearts were made for Him. The journey toward happiness begins with this simple truth. God is not merely part of our happiness, He is the source of it. Happiness begins with being loved. One of the deepest desires of the human heart is to be loved. People spend much of their lives searching for love. They seek it in relationships, friendships, and the approval of others. They want someone to tell them that they matter, that they are enough, and that they are worthy of affection. Yet human love, beautiful as it is, can sometimes disappoint us. People make mistakes. Promises are broken. Relationships change. Sometimes the people we expect to stay with us walk away. Because of this, many people carry wounds in their hearts. They begin to wonder if they are truly lovable or if they will ever find the acceptance they long for. This is where God's love becomes so important. God's love is different from human love. It does not depend on our appearance, our achievements, our success, or our failures. His love remains constant. He loves us on our best days and our worst days. He loves us when we feel strong and when we feel weak. He loves us when we are full of faith and when we are filled with questions. Knowing that we are deeply loved by God brings tremendous peace to the heart. God's love gives us security. Many people live with fear. They fear being rejected. They fear being abandoned. They fear not being good enough. These fears can steal happiness and fill the heart with anxiety. But God's love provides security. When we know that we are loved by God, we no longer need to earn His affection. We no longer need to pretend to be perfect. We can simply come to Him as we are. His love gives us a place to rest. A child who knows they are loved feels safe. In the same way, when we understand God's love, our hearts begin to feel secure. We know that no matter what happens in life, we are not alone. This security becomes a foundation for lasting happiness. Peace that the world cannot give. The world often promises peace. People believe that peace will come when they have enough money, enough success, or enough comfort. But external circumstances can change in an instant. A job can be lost. A relationship can end. A difficult season can suddenly appear. If our peace depends entirely on our circumstances, then our peace will always be fragile. God offers something greater. He offers peace that remains even during life's storms. This peace comes from trusting that He is present and that He is caring for us. It is the quiet confidence that we do not walk through life alone. Happiness. During uncertainty, one of the most difficult parts of life is uncertainty. We do not know what tomorrow will bring. We do not know what challenges may come. We cannot control everything that happens around us. This uncertainty can create worry and fear. Yet happiness in God teaches us to trust. Trust does not mean that we understand everything. It means that we believe God is with us, even when we cannot see the whole picture. Imagine walking through a dark forest with someone you deeply trust. You may not know the path ahead, but because that person is with you, you feel less afraid. This is what trusting God is like. His presence gives us courage, and courage brings peace. God's love heals the heart. Everyone carries pain. Some carry disappointment. Some carry loneliness. Some carry grief. Some carry wounds caused by the words or actions of others. Pain has a way of making happiness seem impossible. But God's love has the power to bring healing. Healing does not always happen overnight. Sometimes it comes slowly, little by little. Like the sunrise gradually pushing away the darkness, God's love gently brings light into our hearts. He reminds us that our pain is not the end of our story. He reminds us that we are still loved. He reminds us that there is hope. Hope itself is a kind of happiness because it gives us strength to keep moving forward. Happiness in gratitude. One of the greatest secrets to happiness is gratitude. Gratitude changes the way we see our lives. Instead of focusing only on what we do not have, we begin noticing the blessings we already possess. The warmth of the sun, the beauty of nature, a good conversation, a peaceful evening, the love of family, the kindness of a friend, the simple gift of another day. God surrounds us with countless blessings, many of which we overlook. A grateful heart begins to recognize these gifts. The more grateful we become, the more joy we experience. Gratitude opens our eyes to the goodness of God. Happiness in simple things. The world often teaches us that happiness comes from extraordinary experiences. It tells us that we need more money, more excitement, and bigger achievements. But some of the happiest moments in life are often simple. Watching the rain, listening to birds sing in the morning, sharing a meal with loved ones, sitting quietly and enjoying a peaceful evening, reading a good book, drinking a warm cup of tea or coffee, taking a walk and feeling the wind. God created a beautiful world filled with small gifts. When we slow down and appreciate these moments, we begin to discover joy all around us. Happiness is often found not in extraordinary events, but in ordinary moments filled with gratitude. Happiness through prayer. Prayer is more than asking God for things. Prayer is spending time with Him. It is sharing our worries, fears, dreams, and joys. It is opening our hearts and allowing ourselves to rest in His presence. Many people discover that after praying, they feel lighter. Their problems may not have disappeared, but their hearts feel calmer. Prayer reminds us that we do not carry our burdens alone. There is great comfort in placing our worries into God's hands. This comfort becomes peace, and peace leads to happiness. Happiness in letting go of control. Many people struggle because they try to control everything. They want to know exactly what the future holds. They want every plan to succeed. They want life to unfold exactly as they imagined. But life rarely works that way. Unexpected events happen. Plans change. Dreams sometimes take different paths. Trying to control everything often creates anxiety and frustration. Finding happiness in God means learning to let go. It means trusting that even when we do not understand everything, God is still at work. This trust does not remove every problem, but it removes the burden of carrying everything alone. And there is great happiness in that freedom. Happiness in forgiveness. Unforgiveness can become a heavy weight. Holding on to anger and bitterness often hurts us more than anyone else. Forgiveness does not mean pretending that painful things never happened. It means choosing not to let those hurts control our hearts forever. God's love teaches us forgiveness. As we experience His grace, we learn to extend grace to others. Forgiveness brings freedom. Freedom brings peace. And peace makes room for happiness. Happiness through serving others. One of life's greatest surprises is that happiness often grows when we help others. A kind word, a listening ear, a small act of generosity, a moment of compassion. These simple acts bring joy not only to others but also to ourselves. God created us to love and care for one another. There is deep satisfaction in knowing that our lives can bring comfort and hope to someone else. The happiest people are often those who learn to give rather than only receive. The peace of belonging to God. Perhaps one of the greatest sources of happiness is knowing that we belong to God. We are not forgotten. We are not invisible. We are not accidents. Our lives matter. We are deeply known and deeply loved. This truth changes everything. It gives us hope during sorrow, strength during weakness, peace during uncertainty, and joy during ordinary days. The heart that knows it belongs to God has discovered a treasure greater than anything this world can offer. Finding happiness in God begins with understanding His love and receiving His peace. His love gives us security. His presence gives us comfort. His peace calms our fears. His grace heals our wounds. As we grow closer to Him, we begin to discover a joy that does not depend on perfect circumstances. We discover a happiness rooted in something eternal, and that happiness remains, even when life becomes difficult, because it is founded not on temporary things, but on the unchanging love of God. One of the hardest questions people ask is this: if God wants me to be happy, why do I suffer? Everyone experiences pain. No one goes through life without disappointment, heartbreak, loss, or uncertainty. There are seasons when our hearts feel heavy and our minds are filled with questions. There are days when happiness seems far away and hope feels difficult to hold on to. During these moments, it can be hard to believe that joy is still possible. Yet one of the most beautiful truths about faith is this: happiness in God is not the absence of suffering. It is discovering that even in suffering, God remains with us. True happiness is not built upon perfect circumstances, It is built upon the unchanging presence and love of God. Everyone experiences difficult seasons. Sometimes we believe that everyone else has life figured out. We look at other people and imagine that they never struggle. But every person carries burdens that others cannot see. Some carry grief. Some carry loneliness. Some carry financial worries. Some carry broken relationships. Some carry fears about the future. Pain is part of the human experience. No amount of money, success, or achievement can completely remove suffering from life. This truth may sound discouraging at first, but it actually brings comfort. We are not alone in our struggles. Everyone experiences difficult seasons, and because suffering is part of life, learning to find happiness in God during those seasons becomes incredibly important. God is present in our pain. One of the greatest fears people have is the fear of being alone in their suffering. Pain often makes us feel isolated. We may think that no one understands us. We may believe that our struggles are invisible. But God sees every tear. He hears every silent prayer. He knows every worry that keeps us awake at night. There is no pain so deep that God cannot see it. There is no sorrow so heavy that He cannot understand it. Even when we cannot feel His presence, He remains near. This truth brings comfort. We may not always understand why difficult things happen, but we can know that we do not walk through them alone. Suffering can teach us important lessons. No one enjoys suffering. If given the choice, we would all choose an easier path. Yet difficult seasons often teach us things that comfortable seasons cannot. Hard times can teach patience. They can teach compassion. They can teach humility. They can teach gratitude. Many people discover strengths within themselves that they never knew existed. They become kinder, wiser, and more understanding because of the challenges they faced. Sometimes suffering changes us in beautiful ways. It softens our hearts. It teaches us to appreciate simple blessings. It reminds us of what truly matters. Happiness is different from constant pleasure. The world often tells us that happiness means always feeling good. It tells us that if we are sad, worried, or grieving, then we have somehow failed. But that is not true. Human beings experience many emotions. There is a time for joy, a time for celebration, a time for mourning, a time for tears. Finding happiness in God does not mean pretending that pain does not exist. It means believing that even in painful seasons, there is still hope. It means trusting that sorrow will not last forever. Deep happiness can exist alongside grief because our joy comes from God's presence, not from perfect circumstances. Finding peace when life does not make sense. There are seasons when life seems unfair. Prayers seem unanswered. Dreams fall apart. Plans change unexpectedly. Questions remain without answers. During those moments, it is easy to become discouraged. We may wonder why things happened the way they did. We may wish we could understand everything. But not every question has an immediate answer. Sometimes faith means learning to trust even when we do not understand. A child does not always understand why a loving parent makes certain decisions. Yet the child trusts because they know they are loved. In the same way, we may not understand everything God allows in our lives, but we can trust that His love remains constant. This trust brings peace. God uses difficult seasons to draw us closer. Many people discover that they became closer to God during their hardest seasons. When life is comfortable, it is easy to become distracted, but suffering often causes us to slow down and examine our hearts. It reminds us of our need for God. It teaches us to depend on Him. It helps us recognize that we cannot carry every burden by ourselves. Sometimes our deepest prayers are spoken during our darkest nights, and sometimes our greatest growth happens during our greatest struggles. Difficult seasons often become turning points in our lives. They teach us to trust more deeply and love more fully. Hope is stronger than despair. There are moments when despair whispers that nothing will ever change. It tells us that things will never improve. It tells us that we should give up. But hope speaks a different message. Hope says that this season will not last forever. Hope says that new beginnings are possible. Hope says that light can still shine in the darkness. God gives us hope because He sees beyond our present circumstances. He sees possibilities that we cannot yet see. He sees tomorrow when we can only see today. Holding on to hope does not erase our pain, but it gives us the strength to continue. And there is great happiness in having hope. Happiness through gratitude during hard times. Gratitude can be difficult during painful seasons. When life is hard, we naturally focus on our struggles. Yet even during difficult times, there are often blessings around us. The kindness of a friend, a warm meal, a beautiful sunset, a comforting conversation, a peaceful moment. The gift of another day. Gratitude does not ignore pain. It simply reminds us that pain is not the only thing in our lives. There is still beauty. There is still goodness. There is still love. A grateful heart often discovers joy in places it never expected. God strengthens our weakness. Everyone reaches moments when they feel exhausted. We become tired physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We wonder how we can keep going. During these moments, God's strength becomes especially precious. He reminds us that we do not have to carry every burden alone. We can rest. We can ask for help. We can trust that His love will sustain us. Many people look back on difficult seasons and realize that they survived not because they were strong enough on their own, but because God carried them. There is comfort in knowing that our weakness does not disqualify us from receiving God's love. In fact, it often reminds us how much we need Him. Joy after the storm. Storms do not last forever. Winter eventually gives way to spring. Night eventually gives way to morning. The same is often true of suffering. There are seasons of pain, but there are also seasons of healing. There are seasons of tears, but there are also seasons of joy. Many people discover that after walking through difficult times, they appreciate happiness more deeply. They become more grateful, more compassionate, more aware of life's simple blessings. Sometimes the most beautiful joy is born from seasons of sorrow. Helping others through our pain. One surprising thing about suffering is that it often prepares us to help others. People who have experienced loss can comfort those who are grieving. People who have faced loneliness can understand those who feel forgotten. People who have struggled can offer hope to others who are struggling. Our pain can become a source of compassion. It can help us understand people in deeper ways. God can use even our difficult experiences to bring comfort and encouragement to others. This gives our suffering meaning, and meaning brings hope, finding happiness, one day at a time. During difficult seasons, it is easy to become overwhelmed. We think about the future and wonder how we will keep going. But happiness in God often comes one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. We do not need to have every answer. We do not need to know exactly how everything will unfold. We simply need to trust that God will be with us today, and then tomorrow, and the day after that. Small steps of faith eventually become a long journey of hope. Finding happiness in God during suffering is not about pretending that life is easy. It is about discovering that even in our darkest moments, we are not abandoned. God remains with us. His love remains constant. His presence brings peace. His hope gives us strength. There will be tears in life. There will be disappointments. There will be seasons of uncertainty. Yet there will also be moments of beauty, healing, and joy. And through every season, we can hold on to this comforting truth. Even in suffering, happiness is still possible because God walks beside us. Our circumstances may change. Our emotions may rise and fall. But the love of God remains steady. And in that unchanging love, we can find a happiness that endures every season of life. After searching for happiness in many places, we eventually discover a beautiful truth. The greatest joy in life is not found in possessions, achievements, or perfect circumstances. It is found in God. The world constantly changes. People change. Circumstances change. Our emotions rise and fall like the waves of the ocean. But God remains the same. His love remains steady. His presence remains faithful. His promises remain true. Because God does not change, the happiness that comes from Him can become a firm foundation for our lives. Finding happiness in God is not a single moment. It is a lifelong journey of learning to trust Him, walk with Him, and rest in His love every day. Choosing joy each day. Happiness is often thought of as a feeling that suddenly appears, but joy is also a choice. Every day we choose where we will focus our attention. We can focus only on our fears and disappointments, or we can choose to notice the goodness that still exists around us. We can choose gratitude. We can choose kindness. We can choose hope. Choosing joy does not mean ignoring our problems. It means refusing to let our problems define our entire lives. Every morning brings another opportunity to begin again, another opportunity to trust God, another opportunity to notice His blessings. Little by little, these choices shape our hearts and help us experience lasting happiness. Finding joy in ordinary days. Many people spend their lives waiting for something extraordinary to happen before they allow themselves to be happy. They say, "I will be happy when I get a better job. I will be happy when I have more money. I will be happy when my problems disappear." But life is made up mostly of ordinary days. If we wait for perfect circumstances before choosing joy, we may wait forever. God often places happiness in simple moments. The warmth of the morning sun, the sound of rain, the laughter of a loved one, a peaceful evening, a kind conversation, the beauty of nature. a quiet moment of rest. These simple gifts remind us that happiness does not always arrive in grand events. Sometimes it is hidden in the ordinary moments we almost overlook. Living with gratitude. One of the greatest ways to cultivate happiness is through gratitude. A grateful heart sees blessings where others see only inconveniences. Gratitude changes our perspective. Instead of constantly focusing on what we lack, we begin to appreciate what we already have. We become thankful for another day of life, the people who care about us, our health, a place to rest, food on the table, the beauty of the world around us. Even during difficult seasons, there are still reasons to be grateful. Gratitude does not deny pain. It simply reminds us that goodness still exists. And where gratitude grows, joy often follows. Happiness through loving others. God created human beings for relationships. We were not meant to walk through life alone. One of the greatest sources of happiness comes from loving and serving others. There is joy in encouraging someone who feels discouraged. There is joy in helping someone in need. There is joy in showing kindness when kindness is unexpected. Acts of love have a way of blessing both the giver and the receiver. The happiest people are often not those who focus entirely on themselves, but those who learn to care deeply for others. Love gives meaning to life. Love brings people together. Love reflects the heart of God. Finding joy through forgiveness. Bitterness can steal happiness. Holding on to anger is like carrying a heavy stone everywhere we go. It weighs down the heart. It fills the mind with pain. Forgiveness does not mean that what happened was acceptable. It does not mean forgetting painful experiences. Forgiveness means choosing not to allow those experiences to control our future. God's love teaches us mercy. As we receive His love, we learn to offer grace to others. Forgiveness brings freedom, and freedom creates room for joy, happiness in trusting God's timing. Many of our disappointments come from unmet expectations. We want answers immediately. We want our prayers answered quickly. We want our dreams fulfilled according to our own plans. But life does not always happen on our schedule. There are seasons of waiting, seasons of uncertainty, seasons when we wonder why things are taking so long. Trusting God means believing that even when we cannot see the whole picture, He is still at work. Waiting is not always easy, but sometimes our greatest growth happens during those quiet seasons. Patience teaches us trust. Trust deepens our faith, and faith brings peace, joy that cannot be taken away. Many things in life are temporary. Money can disappear. Success can fade. Possessions can be lost. Even good seasons eventually come to an end. But the joy that comes from God is different. It is not dependent on circumstances. It remains during times of abundance and times of struggle. It remains during seasons of celebration and seasons of sorrow. Because God's love never changes, the joy found in Him can remain steady. This is one of the greatest gifts of faith. There is a happiness that the world cannot give and cannot take away. Living with hope. Hope is essential to happiness. Without hope, the future appears dark. Without hope, suffering feels meaningless. But God gives us reason to hope. He reminds us that difficult seasons are not permanent. He reminds us that healing is possible. He reminds us that new beginnings can come from painful endings. Hope gives us courage to continue. It allows us to keep moving forward even when the road ahead seems uncertain. Hope says that our current circumstances are not the final chapter of our story. And this hope fills our hearts with peace, happiness through God's presence. One of the greatest blessings of all is simply knowing that God is with us. We do not walk through life alone. He is with us during moments of joy. He is with us during seasons of grief. He is with us during ordinary days and extraordinary ones. There is comfort in knowing that wherever we go, His presence goes with us. We may feel lonely at times, but we are never truly alone. We may feel forgotten by others, but we are never forgotten by God. This truth brings deep and lasting happiness, eternal happiness. Everything in this world is temporary. Life changes quickly. Years pass. People grow older. Circumstances come and go. Because life is temporary, our hearts long for something eternal. God offers us something that goes beyond temporary happiness. He offers eternal hope, a love that never ends, a peace that never fades, a joy that lasts forever. Knowing that our lives have eternal meaning changes the way we live. It gives purpose to our present and hope for our future. Living each day with joy. Finding happiness in God does not require a perfect life. It simply requires an open heart, a heart willing to trust, a heart willing to be grateful, a heart willing to love, a heart willing to hope. Every day we have an opportunity to walk more closely with God and discover the joy that comes from His presence. The journey is not always easy. There will still be challenges. There will still be tears. There will still be moments of uncertainty. But through every season, God's love remains. And because His love remains, our joy can remain as well. Final reflection. At the end of our search for happiness, we discover something beautiful. The happiness we have been seeking was never found in possessions, achievements, or perfect circumstances. It was found in God. He is our peace when life is chaotic. He is our hope when life is difficult. He is our comfort when our hearts are broken. He is our strength when we feel weak. He is our joy when everything else seems uncertain. The world offers temporary happiness. God offers lasting joy. The world offers things that fade. God offers love that endures forever. The world changes. God remains. And because He remains, we can face each day with confidence and hope. True happiness is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of God. It is waking each morning knowing that we are loved. It is finding peace even when life is uncertain. It is trusting that our lives have purpose. It is believing that hope still exists even during difficult seasons. It is resting in the unchanging love of God. The search for happiness leads many people in countless directions. But sooner or later, every human heart discovers the same truth. The deepest joy, the truest peace, and the most lasting happiness are found not in the things of this world, but in God Himself. And when we finally rest in His love, our hearts discover the home they have been searching for all along.